Yeah, OMG. I was on mute the whole time. Good afternoon, sisters. Again, I'm so happy to be here with you this afternoon. So happy that I was speaking to y'all while I was on mute. Y'all know, if y'all know me, I'm an in person girl, so still getting used to this virtual world. But again, first and foremost, we would like to thank our sister Alexis Adams for her obedience in walking out the vision that God has given her with You Good Sis. Women's Count. Again, in full transparency, if I have personal preference, I'm in person because I'm the social worker. I'm the one that loves to hug on you and to really make sure that you are good, sis. Um, but as I get older and continue to build the Sisters of As We Climb network, I love all of the possibilities that we can create from creating virtual community. Before we get started, I know this is different. I can't see who's here, but if you can, check in. Let us know who is joined with us today. Can you drop your names and your locations below? Let's see who we have with us. While we're waiting for you to get checked in, I'll do a brief introduction of who I am and why I'm here today. Again, my name is Sharnay Hearn Davis, and I am the founder of the Sisters Lifting As We Climb network. We launched in September of 2015 as an intergenerational personal and professional support network for women of color, rooted in the core principles of healing, networking, and ascending together. I love when I hear Alexis speak about You Good Sis Count because our visions are truly in line. And definitely, I love when I heard her say a quote the other day that I said I might need to steal for the next time I do a presentation. But she said, we are picking up where the civil rights movement and the women's movement left off. When people ask me to share pieces around my history of the Sisters of Nesby Climb network, I always like to say that I created the network for two core purposes. One, out of my frustration that saying that Black women cannot get along, and two, out of my personal preferences and my personal journey as I was looking for a mentor for myself as I was climbing up the ladder quickly in the city of Pittsburgh. I've been blessed to work in social work and working in community development and working in higher education and working in government. And while I was continuing to look for a mentor for myself, I was also being asked from other young ladies, can I mentor them as well? And along my journey, while individuals were reaching out for me to mentor them, I learned that it was not necessarily that individuals may not want to mentor me, but having an understanding that they truly may not have the capacity because they are already mentoring other individuals. And so, how can we create intentional spaces for us to bring women across generations to come together to learn from to come together and to learn from one another? As I continued to do the work, God had other plans for me. What I thought was about professional development, He again reminded me that this was about healing. Because with having the true understanding that we are not always good, right? And how do we have deeper conversations from women to know how to navigate certain situations? When I created the Sister Living As We Climb network, it really was again a ministry first, right? Because during that time, I'll always share very transparently that I didn't have a good relationship with my mother at the time. I didn't have a good relationship with my sister at the time. And God was telling me, like, your job and your responsibility is create mentorship programming and to be there to create an intentional space for Black women and women of color to come together to heal. And if y'all know me, I'm silly. I've been with who, me, Jesus? And he said, yes, you. So for years, I continued trying to run away from the calling, um, which clearly I did not run too far because God had his plans. And we're now being blessed to lead this work for the last 7 years. And over the last 7 years, we may have started with creating intentional spaces. That's where was networking events and hosting healing retreats and We in 2020 we just released our first book called "Realities of Black Women: Dismantling the False Narratives of Black Women in America." That book was birthed out of the Gender Equity Report. If you're in the city of Pittsburgh and you were following when the University of Pittsburgh and the Gender Equity Commission released a report that stated that the city of Pittsburgh is the worst place for Black women to live, and think about, begin to reflect, what did that really make you feel? How did that, seeing that, how did that, how did seeing that report blasted across all of the news make you feel, right? And so for me, it was the catalyst to help me to take the network to the next level. If you see behind me, that picture was after the gender equity report was released. We hosted our first advocacy campaign, Sisters Living as We Climb meetup, under the notion that Black women, it's time for Black women to unite and to have an understanding that we will no longer be overlooked. And so, as I was leading the Sisters Living as We Climb network, I really began to lean into the notion of my background being in social work and having an understanding that we needed to do and create more advocacy campaigns and to do more advocacy around making sure that Black women's needs, basic needs, were being met. But not only are basic needs being met, but how can we make sure that we're creating other opportunities that others may not be thinking about for us as well. So, as I continue to lead the work of Sisters Lifting as We Climb, some of the things that we would hear oftentimes were, I would love to be a part of the network, but I may not have resources such as financial things to contribute to my professional development. I would love to attend an event, but I need daycare. Who's going to support me with watching my children's while I can actually attend an event? There are other things of the nature of, you know, this may not be my time or my season, again, because they may have the same type of notions and beliefs that I may had of false notions of how I felt that, again, Black women can't get along and it wasn't my responsibility. But if whose responsibility is it if we don't start working on ourselves? So again, after leading this work for the last 7 years, we're now blessed to sit at tables of influence, to create solution to these problems that we read in that report. I'm currently sitting on one of the, you know, committees that I will share with you today. Is I'm currently sitting on Mayor Eric Gainey's Commission for Black Women, and we are currently in discussion and listening for Black women's voice to truly be heard around the areas of housing insecurities, leadership development, and business development as well. Looking for understanding that funding issues are real, are in real life and in business, right? But what are the type of solutions that you want us to think around when we're creating, programs for you, right? Personally, I'm super tired of programming. Like, you want me to enroll into a 6 month program in order to qualify for funding to take my business to the next level. So, but again, how do we continue to have real conversations that are meeting women where they are? That's why I love the idea of this conference, right? It's an opportunity for me to share some of the pieces of my knowledge with you. And again, to when we're in person, perfectly, I'll be able to join you all on Saturday as well. To continue to follow up with me and ask me as many questions as you want. But again, how can we make sure that we're following up and really listening to what the community needs are? So one of the things that, as I began to prepare for this conversation, I wanted to really be a conversation. I didn't just want it to be Sharnay talking. I can talk that way, but this is the opportunity for community to ask me questions and how can I help and connect you into real time and being connected to resources. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below, and then I can share more background about me as well. So one of the things while we're waiting for to see if anyone has any questions to come through is the notion that we no longer want you to suffer in silence. So we kicked off today with healing and understanding intergenerational trauma. right? And how trauma stays within your body. But we're also suffering in silence because you may feel like you may be the first one in your family who's going after a college degree, and you feel like no one in your family may understand what you're going through or the struggles, or you may be a new parent. So I'm now 34 with two children, and I have a husband, and learning how to navigate those notions of where do I go when I no longer wanted to be the strong one, right? Or I am also currently on, working on my doctorate. And as a doctorate student, when the pandemic hit, it was a blessing. Everybody was being blessed with, stimulus checks or unemployment. But because I was a doctorate student and I was had a job that was a graduate assistantship position, I didn't qualify for unemployment. So now one of my advocacy avenues is really understanding that graduate students um, really need extra support for housing. They need support for making sure that they are able to pay their costs for tuition. And there's so many different needs that we just don't talk about because we may feel like who's really going to listen to us, and who's really going to be there to believe us, and who's really going to be there to actually make whatever I need to make that a reality. But just again, I'm really here to affirm you and to encourage you to know that there are a number of us who are listening to meet, listening to. There are a number of us who are willing to meet with you. There's a number of us who are listening. There's a number of us who are advocating for you every day when you feel like nobody else is in your corner. And so just know that we are here to be in a support system, whether it's myself as an individual or myself as the organization as a whole. So as we move forward in thinking about creating our plan for, as now we are a nonprofit and moving forward, what does that actually mean for the community as a whole? We understand the notion of needing to go back into focus on healing and understanding that the individuals who are, particularly Black women, individuals who are 30 and younger are the most high risk for suicide rates. They are often, we are, right? I'm not sure behind y'all, often the most at risk for suffering in silence because we have so much on our plate and we really don't always know where to go for help or for support. So, again, we are here to know, we're here to listen to you as I just seen pop up because these are popping up quickly on my feed as well. Someone else just asked, "How can I help?" Right? So people want to know how can you help. So things that I heard from before, you feel free to say yay or nay in the chat. But things that we are know that people need social support needs are for childcare, right? So childcare agencies need support into making sure they have quality staff. We know individuals who are looking for employment, looking for quality unemployment. There are individuals who are looking for adequate housing. Adequate housing is a huge need. As I look over, I was going to say my right shoulder, my left shoulder, I'm looking at our sister Celeste Queen as may she rest in peace, who's a huge housing advocate, right? Just because Sister Celeste is not here, that does not mean that advocacy for housing um, is quits, right? Like we need to pick up the mantle on where she left off to have a true conversation on what those needs are and encouraging everyone to go into home ownership may be one route, but that may not also be someone else's goal, right? Balance in our community is a huge thing. So do you feel safe in your communities? Right. So someone said child care and senior care also, right? Senior care. One of the statistics I just read the other day showed that the boomer generation is going to increase over the next 5 years, like by something crazy, like 60%, while everything else was almost at a standstill. But it was 35 to 44-year olds were like probably raised like by 14%. So again, what does that mean when your parents are becoming older, right? And we may still not get over our intergenerational trauma, right? We all don't always have the best relationship with our parents. Sometimes that's an unspoken rule that we don't talk about in the Black community. But understanding like there are real conversations that need to be had, and our generation's assuming that knowing who Alexis is and who her sister is right now, finding that as well. Our generation now is like the 25-year-olds to the 40-year-olds, and we are really going to have to make some difficult decisions as we move forward and individuals start to retire. Not only did we see a lot of families becoming disconnected because of individuals who passed away due to COVID, right? That's still a real thing. We've just been functioning as everything in life is normal. But the reality is, nothing right now is normal. And our reality is, sometimes it's okay to say, sis, I'm not okay. Um, but when you're saying, sis, I'm not okay, who do you have in your corner to make sure that you're going to them for support? So again, my name is Sharnay Hearn Davis, and sis, I am here for you. So sis, I will also make sure that you have my contact information if you needed to continue to follow up. And if you have any questions, again, never hesitate to reach out. We're gonna get used to this virtual world in a second, but sis, it's time to understand we need your voice and know how to use your voice to know that it's okay to say, sis, I'm not okay.